The streets were quiet, too quiet. It was almost midnight, and Zara walked fast, keeping her eyes low. The streetlights flickered above her like tired stars. Her shoes made soft sounds on the broken sidewalk. She didn't like walking home this late, but she had no choice. Zara was only 17, but she was stronger than most people twice her age. She lived in a tough town where trouble waited at every corner. People said it was no place for a girl to walk alone at night. Zara knew that, but after her long shift at the diner, she had to get home to her sick mother. She always kept her head down. She didn't talk too much. She didn't dress to get noticed. In her world, attention was dangerous. But that night, someone noticed. She passed an old building and felt it, that strange feeling like someone was behind her. She didn't turn around. She just walked faster. Then, footsteps. Slow at first, then quicker. She turned the next corner and hoped they'd stop. They didn't. She swallowed hard. Zara reached the alley near the shortcut to her house. Normally, she used it to save 10 minutes. That night, it didn't feel safe. She stepped in anyway. Bad choice. Halfway through the alley, voices echoed behind her. "Hey, pretty girl walking all alone. That's not safe." Zara froze. Her heart started pounding. 3 boys, older, rough-looking, stepped into the alley behind her. One had a cigarette, one had a bat. The other just smiled in a way that made her skin crawl. She turned to face them, calm but firm. "I'm just going home." One laughed. "This is our street now." Zara didn't answer. She looked for a way out. The alley walls were high. There was no door, no escape. "Let me go," she said softly. The tallest boy stepped closer. "Or what?" Zara took a deep breath. Her hands shook, but she hid it well. She wasn't weak. She was scared, yes, but not weak. The boys circled her. One tried to touch her jacket. And then, a shadow moved behind them. The sound was soft. Just a step, a shift of weight. But Zara heard it. So did the boys. They all turned. A man stood at the end of the alley. Tall, silent, still. His face was hidden in the dark, but his posture, calm, ready, made the boys pause. "Who's that?" one of them said. The man stepped forward. Just one step. "Enough." The boy with the bat raised it. "This isn't your business, old man." The man didn't speak. He just kept walking. Closer. Now the light hit part of his face. Zara's breath caught. She knew that face. Even with the beard, even with the scars, she knew him. It was Rayan, her brother. The one who left. The one who vanished after their father died. The one she hadn't seen in 5 years. The boys didn't know what to do. One tried to act tough. "You better back off, man." Rayan looked straight into his eyes. "You have 10 seconds to leave." His voice was calm, dead calm, like someone who didn't bluff. The boys hesitated. Then, something in Rayan's eyes changed. Cold. Focused. They dropped the act and ran. Zara stood frozen as Rayan walked toward her. He didn't smile. He didn't speak. He just stopped in front of her and looked at her the way only a big brother could, eyes scanning her face, checking for bruises, signs of fear. "You okay?" he finally asked. She nodded. What are you doing here?" Rayan looked over his shoulder, then back at her. "I heard things were getting worse here," he said. "I came back." Zara's voice shook. "After all these years, you just show up now." Rayan didn't answer. He pulled up the hood of his jacket and said, "Let's go. It's not safe here." Zara followed him silently, her heart full of questions. Where had he been? Why did he leave? Why now? And more importantly, was he here to stay? Zara walked beside Rayan in silence. She kept looking at him from the corner of her eye. His face looked different now. Older, rougher, colder. But it was still him. Her big brother. The one who used to chase her around the house, protect her from bullies, and teach her how to ride a bike. Then one day he left. No message, no goodbye, just gone. And now, 5 years later, he was walking next to her like he had never left. Zara's heart was full of questions, but she stayed quiet. Rayan finally broke the silence. Still taking care of Mom? Zara nodded. Yeah, she's not well. I work double shifts now. Rayan didn't answer. His face stayed hard. His eyes scanned the empty street like a soldier on duty. Zara stopped walking. Why now, Rayan? Why did you come back? He turned to her slowly. Because I heard your name, from the wrong kind of people. Zara frowned. What does that mean? He looked down the road before answering. It means trouble is coming. They reached the small house at the edge of the street, the same house they grew up in. Rayan looked at the door. It was still broken at the corner, just like when he left. The garden was full of weeds. The lights inside were dim. Zara opened the door slowly. You can stay for a bit. Mom's probably asleep. Rayan stepped inside. Every corner held a memory. Happy ones and painful ones. He saw the old couch where they used to fight over the TV. The kitchen table where Dad used to drink his morning tea. And the photo of their family. Still hanging on the wall, still dusty. Some things never change, he said softly. Zara sighed. Except you. Later that night, they sat on the rooftop under the stars. Zara finally asked the question that had been burning inside her for years. Why did you leave us, Rayan? He didn't answer at first. Then he said, after Dad died, I got into something dangerous. I thought if I stayed, it would reach you and Mom. So I left. What kind of dangerous? She asked. Rayan looked her in the eyes. The kind that doesn't forgive mistakes. Zara's heart skipped. You were in a gang. Rayan shook his head. Worse. He paused, then added, let's just say I worked with people who disappear problems. Zara stared at him. You were a hitman. Rayan didn't blink. I was many things, but never proud of it. The wind blew softly. The night suddenly felt colder. Zara stood up. You could have told us. We needed you. Rayan stood too. If I stayed, you wouldn't be alive today. Zara's voice broke. I didn't need your protection, Rayan. I needed my brother. Rayan's jaw clenched. I'm here now. She wiped her tears. For how long? Until they find you again. Until you disappear again. He stepped closer. I'm not running this time. She looked at him with doubt. But in his eyes, she saw something she hadn't seen before. Regret. Real regret. Rayan took something from his coat pocket. It was an old bracelet. Broken, rusted. Zara gasped. You found this. I kept it, he said. Your gift to me before I left for that school trip. I never stopped carrying it. Zara's hands trembled. She remembered that day. It was the last time he truly smiled. The next morning, Rayan woke up early. He stood in the kitchen, making tea like he used to. The house was quiet. Then, a knock at the door. He opened it slowly. 3 men stood outside, dressed in black, faces cold. Rayan Khan, one asked. Rayan didn't flinch. Who's asking? Old friends, the man said with a fake smile. We heard you're back in town. Rayan stepped outside and closed the door behind him. Leave. Now. The tallest man leaned in. You know it's not that simple. Rayan smiled darkly. You know I don't like being followed. The men backed away slowly. You'll hear from us soon. As they walked away, Rayan's face turned serious. Inside, Zara had seen everything from the window. She stepped out. Who were they? Rayan looked at her. People who don't forget. Zara folded her arms. You said you're not running this time. So what now? Rayan gave a small nod. Now, I train you. Zara laughed bitterly. Train me. Rayan's voice turned firm. If they can't get to me, they'll come for you. I won't let that happen again. Zara looked at him, scared, but ready. I'm not the little girl you left behind, Rayan. He smiled for the first time. I know. That's why I came back. Zara stood in the backyard, breathing fast. Again, Rayan said. She raised her fists. Her arms ached. Her legs felt weak. But she didn't stop. He had been training her every day since the night those men came to the house. Punch. Step back. Block. Rayan circled her, calm and serious. Your eyes, always on the target. Don't blink. Zara threw another punch, this time harder. Rayan nodded. Good. Again. It had been a week since Rayan returned. Every day, he trained Zara, not just to fight, but to think like a fighter, to listen to her surroundings, to watch people's hands, not their faces, to stay calm when afraid. Zara was surprised at how fast she learned. She was always quiet, always polite, but now she was starting to feel strong, brave, like a different version of herself. Still, a part of her was angry. Rayan hadn't told her everything, and she knew he was hiding something. That night, after dinner, she sat with him again on the rooftop. She looked at him. Tell me the truth. Rayan didn't pretend to misunderstand. She continued, those men, they knew you, and you said you were many things. What does that really mean? Rayan stayed silent for a long time. Then he spoke. Do you remember Uncle Nadim? Zara nodded. The one who died overseas. Rayan shook his head. He didn't die. He disappeared. Zara frowned. What are you saying? Rayan leaned back. Uncle Nadim worked with a group that does things outside the law. Things the police can't touch. I followed in his footsteps after Dad died. Zara's heart started racing. So you're, what? Some kind of spy. Rayan laughed once, but it wasn't joyful. More like a shadow. I worked for people who solve problems with silence. I've been in places the news doesn't talk about. Done things I'll never be proud of. Zara looked down. And now they want you dead. Rayan sighed. No, they want me back. The next morning, Zara woke up to shouting outside. She ran to the door. Rayan was standing in the street, arguing with a man in a gray suit. The man looked official. Too official. Zara listened from behind the door. You're not safe here, the man said. They're watching you. You think the girl isn't on their list. Rayan's voice was firm. She's not part of this. The man stepped closer. You made her part of it the moment you showed up. Zara stepped outside. Who are you? The man gave her a sad smile. I'm the reason your brother is still alive. Rayan said nothing. The man turned to leave but stopped. You have 3 days. After that, I can't protect either of you. That night, Zara sat alone in the kitchen. Her hands shook as she poured tea. She felt like a child again, scared and confused. Rayan walked in quietly. I didn't want this life for you, he said. She looked at him. Then why come back? Because I couldn't let you face them alone. Zara whispered. So what happens now? Rayan sat down. We wait, and we prepare. For what? For the truth to come knocking. Later that night, Zara found a box in Rayan's old closet. It was locked, but the lock was weak. Curiosity took over. She opened it. Inside were pictures. Rayan in military gear, standing in deserts, forests, cities she couldn't name. Notes written in code. A list of names. Some were crossed out. At the bottom, a picture of her. Young, smiling, standing with Rayan and their dad. On the back, in Rayan's handwriting, everything I do is for her. Zara's eyes filled with tears. He had never stopped thinking of her. The next morning, she didn't wait for training. She stood in the backyard before sunrise, punching the air, kicking, moving faster than before. Rayan came out and watched silently. "You're up early," he said. "I'm not afraid anymore," she answered. He smiled. "Good, because they're coming sooner than we thought." Zara stopped. "What do you mean?" Rayan's face turned serious. "A message came last night." He held up a piece of paper. One line was written. "You took one of ours. Now we take her." Zara stared at the paper. Rayan said softly, "We don't have much time." The clock was ticking. And for the first time in her life, Zara wasn't running. She was ready. The house was quiet. Too quiet. Zara stood near the window, holding a metal rod in her hands. Her heart was beating fast, but her hands didn't shake. Not this time. Rayan stood beside her, checking his small black bag. Inside were tools, a knife, a flashlight, and something Zara didn't recognize. It looked like a tiny earpiece. "You sure you're ready?" he asked. Zara nodded. "You said we don't run anymore." Rayan gave a small smile. "Right." They waited. The note had said, "We take her." That meant whoever was coming soon. It was just a matter of time. Zara had been watching the streets since morning. Nothing. No sign of trouble. Until now. A black car slowed down near the corner. It didn't stop, just passed by. Then another. Rayan stepped outside, pretending to light a cigarette. He scanned both ends of the street, casually but carefully. His eyes locked onto a man standing too still near the park gate. Then another man across the road, pretending to be on a phone call. "They're here," he whispered to himself. He stepped back inside. "They're surrounding us," he told Zara. "Two by the park, one behind the alley. At least 3 in the car." Zara swallowed. "What do we do?" "We wait for the first move." They turned off all lights in the house. Every creak, every whisper could now be heard clearly. Zara went upstairs and took position behind the window. Rayan stayed near the front door. And then it came. Bang! A loud hit against the back door. Zara jumped. Bang! Bang! Another 2 strikes. Then silence. "They're testing us," Rayan said, "trying to scare us." Zara whispered, "It's working." Rayan looked at her. "Then use that fear. Turn it into fire." Suddenly, crash. The back window shattered. Someone was trying to get in. Rayan moved fast, pulling Zara down. "Stay low." Footsteps. 1 inside now. Maybe 2. Rayan kicked open a door from behind and caught the first attacker off guard. He slammed the man into the wall, knocking him out cold. Another man came running at Rayan with a metal rod. Rayan blocked it with his arm and punched him hard in the chest. The man fell but reached for a knife. Zara didn't think. She reacted. She ran forward and kicked the knife away. The man looked up at her, surprised. She raised the metal rod and swung it. It hit his arm. He screamed. Rayan grabbed him and pushed him out the door. But it wasn't over. They heard yelling outside now. More footsteps. "They're not done," Rayan said, breathing hard. Suddenly, the front door burst open. 3 men stormed in. Rayan tackled the first. Zara ducked as another tried to grab her. This time, she didn't run. She hit him hard on the leg, then again on his back. He grabbed her by the wrist, but she twisted just like Rayan taught her and broke free. She shouted, "I can fight too." Rayan took down the last man with a sharp elbow to the jaw. The house was a mess. Broken chairs, blood on the floor, glass everywhere. But they were still standing. Zara was shaking. "Is it over?" Rayan looked at her. "No." He pointed out the window. A tall figure stood outside, watching everything. Zara froze. "Who is that?" Rayan's face went cold. "The one who trained me." The man outside didn't move. He simply stared at the house. Then he turned and walked away. Rayan locked the door and leaned against it. He doesn't fight in crowds. He comes when you least expect it. Zara asked, why didn't he come in? Because he wants me scared. Wants me to know. He's coming soon. For real. That night, the silence was heavy. Zara cleaned her cuts in the bathroom. Her hands were sore. Her legs were bruised. But inside, she felt different. Stronger. Rayan sat at the table, lost in thought. She came and sat across from him. Why did they send him? Rayan looked at her slowly. Because I left. Because I said no to them. And he was the one who taught me never to say no. Zara whispered, will he kill you? Rayan looked away. Maybe, but not before I finish what I started. What did you start? Rayan's voice was low. A promise to Dad. To protect you. Always. Zara didn't speak. She reached out and held his hand. She had always felt like the little sister needing protection. But tonight, she realized, she was now part of the fight. And she wasn't afraid anymore. The city was quiet the next day. Almost too quiet. Zara walked down the street with Rayan beside her. They moved fast, eyes sharp, watching everything. Every car that slowed down, every stranger who stared too long. All of it mattered now. They weren't just brother and sister anymore. They were targets. After the attack last night, Rayan knew this wasn't over. They tested us. He told Zara. Now, the real game begins. She asked, what game? He replied, the one they trained me for, and then tried to erase me from. Zara stayed close. Her mind raced with questions. Who was that man standing outside? Why did he look so calm? Why did Rayan, the fearless fighter, go silent when he saw him? They reached an old garage on the edge of town. It was locked, dusty, looked abandoned. Rayan unlocked the side door and pushed it open. Inside was a hidden world. Weapons, files, radios, maps, a small bed in the corner. Zara looked around. What is this place? My ghost room, Rayan said. Ghost room. He nodded. Every soldier like me keeps one. A place to disappear if everything else burns down. Zara picked up a photo from the wall. 4 men standing in military gear. One of them was Rayan. Another looked familiar. That's him, she said softly. The man from last night. Rayan looked at the photo. His face hardened. His name is Omar. We called him the Phantom, because no one ever saw him coming. Zara whispered, he was your friend. Rayan shook his head. He was my shadow, my test, my nightmare. Rayan sat down and finally told the story. Years ago, when he was just 19, he was chosen for a secret unit. It wasn't part of the army or the police. It was something darker, a team that worked outside laws. They went to places no map showed, did missions no one admitted, and Omar was the best among them. He could disappear in daylight. He could break a man without leaving a mark, and he never failed a mission. Rayan respected him, but also feared him. One day, Omar crossed a line. He killed an innocent during a mission. Rayan tried to report it, but they didn't punish Omar. They punished Rayan. He was beaten, his files erased, his name removed, left to die in a foreign land. But he didn't die. He survived. And now, Omar was back, to finish the punishment. Zara sat in silence, shocked. All these years, she said, you were fighting alone. Rayan looked at her. Not anymore. Later that evening, they trained again in the garage. Zara practiced harder than ever before. Her punches were faster, her steps sharper. Rayan watched her, proud but worried. You're getting better, he said. She smiled. I want to be ready. He nodded. You'll need to be. Suddenly, the old radio in the corner crackled. Rayan froze. The voice that came through was cold and slow. Hello, Rayan, still hiding behind your sister. Zara stepped back. Her heart jumped. Rayan grabbed the radio mic. Omar, what do you want? What I always wanted. Justice. You broke the code. You chose weakness. Rayan clenched his jaw. I chose truth. Truth is for the dead. Omar laughed. Let's see how long she survives it. The radio went silent. Zara turned to Rayan. He knows where we are. Rayan didn't answer. He opened a box and pulled out 2 black bags. Pack light, he said. We leave in 10 minutes. Where are we going? He looked at her. To the place where it all began. They left the city that night. The road was empty. Only the stars and the sound of the car engine filled the silence. Zara sat in the passenger seat, holding the photo of Omar and Rayan. What was he before? She asked. Rayan answered. He was a soldier who lost his soul. They reached an abandoned training ground deep in the forest, where Rayan and Omar were first trained. Fences broken, buildings dark and silent. Zara looked around. Why come here? Rayan said, because this is where Omar plays best, and if we want to end it, we face him on his ground. Zara's voice shook. Are we ready? Rayan looked up at the sky. No one's ever ready for a ghost. But this time, the ghost isn't alone. He looked at her, eyes full of pride. This time, he faces us. As the night grew darker, a cold wind passed through the trees, and somewhere, in the shadows of the forest, Omar was waiting. The night was silent. Too silent. Zara stepped carefully through the tall grass. The trees stood like giants around her, and the cold air felt sharp against her skin. Every step made a sound. Every sound felt loud. Rayan was a few steps ahead, his body low, his eyes scanning everything. They had returned to the old training camp, the place where Rayan had learned to fight, to survive, and to fear Omar. Now, they were walking straight into Omar's trap, but they had no choice. Earlier that evening, they hid their car deep in the woods and packed light, a flashlight, a small bag of tools, and 1 pistol. Zara wanted to ask why only 1 gun. Rayan answered before she even spoke. Omar doesn't fight with bullets, he said. He fights with silence. The camp appeared slowly. Gray buildings covered in vines, broken fences, and empty towers. Time had forgotten this place, but Rayan hadn't. Zara looked around. This is where you trained. Rayan nodded. For 18 months, we slept on stone, ran in the rain, fought until we bled. She whispered, with him. Rayan's eyes darkened. Yes, Omar was always watching, even when you didn't see him. Suddenly, a sound, a soft whistle. Rayan froze. Zara froze. Rayan whispered, that's his signal. Another whistle, from the other side. Zara turned. He's behind us. No, Rayan said slowly. He's everywhere. They moved quickly now, stepping through a broken doorway into one of the old dorm rooms. Rayan pointed to the floor. Stay low. He uses high ground. Zara crouched. Her hands shook slightly, but her eyes were focused. Then, click. The door behind them slammed shut. Zara jumped. What was that? Rayan grabbed her hand. Move. They ran through the back hallway. It was dark. Cold. Suddenly, a light flicked on. 1 bulb, hanging from a wire. Below it stood a man. Tall, still, face in shadow. Zara stopped. Her heart stopped. Rayan stepped forward. Omar, he said softly. The man smiled, but didn't speak. Rayan kept his voice calm. You waited a long time for this. Omar slowly stepped into the light. He looked older now, a scar across his cheek, eyes like steel. I waited because I knew you'd come back, Omar said. You always carry your guilt with you. Rayan stared at him. I left because I still had a soul. Omar walked in a circle around them. You left because you were weak, and now you bring her. He looked at Zora. A child. Zara stepped forward. I'm not a child. Omar raised an eyebrow. No. Then watch closely. He moved fast, too fast. In 1 second, he kicked Rayan hard in the chest. Rayan fell back, gasping. Zara ran toward him, swinging the small metal rod. But Omar grabbed her wrist midair. Slow, he whispered. Too slow. He pushed her back. Not hard, but strong enough to send a message. Zara hit the wall and slid down. Rayan stood, face red with pain. You don't touch her, he growled. Omar smiled. Then stop me. They fought. Fast, brutal. No rules. Fists hit. Bones cracked. The sound of combat echoed in the room. Zara watched from the corner, eyes wide. Rayan was strong, but Omar moved like a ghost. No wasted motion, no fear. Then, Omar pulled a blade. Zara shouted, Rayan. Rayan turned just in time, blocking with his arm. The blade cut deep. Blood hit the floor. Zara screamed. No. She ran to Omar, grabbing the first thing she could, a broken pipe. She hit his leg, then again, and again. Omar turned, shocked. You dare. But Rayan was already up. He tackled Omar from behind, slamming him into the wall. The blade dropped. Rayan punched. Again. Again. Omar slumped. Silence. Just heavy breathing. Broken glass. Blood on the floor. Zara knelt beside Rayan. His arm was bleeding badly. You're hurt, she said. He looked at her and smiled. We're alive. Omar groaned. Zara stood. Do we finish him? Rayan looked at his old enemy, then shook his head. No, he lives with his failure. Zara nodded. She had expected revenge. But Rayan chose something harder. Mercy. They tied Omar up and called someone. A contact Rayan trusted. A man who still had ties to the right people in power. He'll be picked up by morning, Rayan told her. He'll face the justice I never got. Zara asked, Is it really over? Rayan looked at her. For the first time in years, his eyes softened. Yes, the ghost is behind us now. They walked out of the camp as the sun began to rise. The trees were no longer dark. The shadows were gone. And with every step, Zara felt stronger. Not just because she had survived, but because she had fought. And won. The sun rose slowly over the forest. Its golden light touched the leaves, the broken buildings, and the ground stained with old battles. For the first time in years, the camp felt quiet. Not the dangerous kind of quiet, but peaceful. Zara and Rayan stood at the edge of the forest. Behind them, the nightmare was over. Ahead of them, the real world waited. Zara took a deep breath. Rayan touched his injured arm. The bleeding had stopped, but the pain reminded him they had made it through. Together, they returned to the city in silence. Zara watched the world pass by through the car window. People walking, kids laughing, shops opening, all normal, as if nothing had happened. But inside her, everything had changed. She wasn't the same girl who walked through dark streets scared and alone. She was different now. Stronger, braver, free. Back at home, their mother waited. The moment she saw them, she froze. Her eyes filled with tears. Rayan, she whispered. Rayan stepped forward slowly. I'm home, Ammi. She touched his face gently, as if she couldn't believe it was real. I thought I lost you forever. Rayan lowered his eyes. I thought I lost myself too. They hugged, the kind of hug that heals years of pain. Zara stood beside them, smiling through her own tears. Their broken family wasn't broken anymore. The next few days passed quietly. Rayan rested and healed. His arm was stitched, his body was sore, but he smiled more now. Zara went back to work, back to school, but she walked differently. Not afraid. Not hiding. People noticed. The same boys who once stared at her on the streets now looked away. Something had changed. She carried herself with strength, with power, with a quiet fire. One evening, she sat with Rayan on the rooftop. The city lights sparkled below. The air was cool, calm. Rayan handed her a small package. She opened it. Inside was a key. "What's this?" Rayan smiled. "A new place. For you." She looked at him, confused. "What do you mean?" "You've outgrown this place. You've seen what darkness looks like. And you didn't run. You didn't break. You deserve something better now." Zara held the key tightly. She wanted to cry, but she didn't, because he was right. The next day, Zara visited the community center near her school. She stood outside, looking at the glass door. Inside, a group of young girls practiced basic self-defense moves. A female instructor clapped and guided them. Zara walked in slowly. "Can I help you?" the instructor asked. Zara nodded. "Yes, I want to teach." The woman looked her up and down. "Do you have training?" Zara smiled. She remembered the alley. She remembered Omar. She remembered what it felt like to fight back and win. "I have enough," she said. Weeks passed. Zara began helping girls who were afraid to walk home alone. She taught them how to stand tall, how to fight back if needed, how to stay strong when the world tried to break them. Her story spread quietly, not through news, not on screens, but through whispers. "She's the girl who fought in the alley. She didn't run. She had someone in the shadows." One day, a young girl came to Zara after class. She was small, nervous. "Did your brother really come back?" she asked softly. Zara nodded. "Yes." "Was he like a superhero?" Zara thought for a moment, then smiled. "No, he was just my brother. But that night, he became one." The girl grinned. Zara patted her shoulder. "And you? You don't need a superhero. You'll become your own." Later that night, back at home, Zara and Rayan sat on the floor eating simple food. Rayan looked at her with pride. "You've changed," he said. Zara laughed. "So have you." Rayan leaned back. "Do you know what scared me most during those years in the shadows?" "What?" "That I'd come back, and you wouldn't need me." Zara smiled softly. "I needed you then, but now." She paused, thinking. "Now I just want you to stay." The room fell silent for a moment. Not heavy, not dark, just peaceful. Zara leaned her head on his shoulder. Rayan whispered, "No more running." Zara nodded. "No more fear." The city kept moving outside. People still walked. Lights still blinked. Noise still filled the streets. But somewhere in that busy world, a girl who once walked alone, now walked with strength, with hope, and always with the memory of the brother who stepped out of the shadows just when she needed him most. Zara stood in front of a small group of girls at the community center. Their eyes were wide, curious, inspired. They had heard the whispers, the story of the girl who stood strong, the girl who didn't run, the girl whose brother came out of the shadows. But today, they heard it from her, in her own voice. "I used to be just like you," Zara said softly. "Scared to walk home, scared to speak up. I thought silence would keep me safe." The girls listened closely. "But silence is what they want. Fear is what they feed on. The moment I stopped being quiet, everything changed." She didn't tell them all the details. Not about the blood, not about the blade, not about the man in the forest with eyes like ice. But she did tell them the truth. "I didn't win because I was strong. I won because I didn't quit." After the session, one girl stayed behind. She looked about 12. Small, shy. "Miss Zara, She asked quietly. Do you think someone like me can be strong too? Zara knelt down, smiled, and said the same words her brother once told her. You already are. Outside the center, Rayan waited near the gate. His arm was still in a sling, but the color had returned to his face. His walk was steady again. Zara ran up to him. They loved it, she said. Rayan grinned. I'm not surprised. They began walking down the street together, side by side. It had been weeks since the night at the forest camp. Omar was taken into custody quietly. No media, no noise. Rayan's old contact had made sure it stayed off the radar. He doesn't deserve to be famous, Rayan had said. Let him disappear. And he did. But Zara's story, that was a different story. It started small. A post online, a short video, a quote shared on someone's wall. Then more people began talking about the girl who stood up, the girl who fought back. And most of all, the girl whose brother never forgot her. One afternoon, the local school invited Zara to speak at an assembly. She stood in front of hundreds of students. Some knew her, some didn't. But they all listened. Zara didn't speak like a hero. She didn't shout. She didn't cry. She just told the truth. I never wanted to be in a fight. I just wanted to get home safe. But when the moment came, I realized something. She looked at the silent crowd. The world doesn't change when we stay quiet. After the event, a teacher walked up to her. You've changed this town, the woman said. Zara smiled. I didn't do it alone. She looked out the window. Rayan was leaning on the fence outside, watching her from a distance. That night, Zara and Rayan sat on the rooftop again, just like before. But this time, the air felt different. Lighter. Warmer. Rayan had a small envelope in his hand. Zara raised an eyebrow. What's that? He handed it to her. She opened it. Inside was a letter and a flight ticket. She read it slowly, her hands shaking. It's from a training academy, Rayan explained. They heard about what happened. They'd want you to visit, speak, maybe even train. Zara was stunned. You sent them my story. Rayan shook his head. No, someone else did. It just found its way. Zara looked down at the letter, then up at the stars. The next morning, she packed her small bag. Rayan drove her to the airport. Their mother came too, smiling, proud, and holding back tears. At the terminal, Zara turned to them. I'm not leaving for good, she said. Rayan nodded. I know. You're just taking your light to places that need it. Zara hugged him tightly. You were my shadow when I needed one, she whispered. Now I'll be someone else's light. The plane took off. Zara looked out the window. The city grew smaller and smaller, but the story inside her heart grew bigger. She arrived at the academy and met other girls like her, some from different cities, some from other countries. Some had never heard of her. Some had. But they all wanted to know her story. Zara didn't tell it like a legend. She told it like a memory. A moment of fear. A moment of fight. And a brother who came when it mattered most. Years later, Zara became a name people remembered, not because of the fight, but because of what she did after. She trained others, taught them strength, helped them find their voice. And in every class, in every session, she ended the same way. You are not alone. The world may turn dark, but somewhere out there, a shadow is always ready to become your light.